Call the meeting to order and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance led by Dale.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please silence your cell phones. And Ryan has a little announcement to read.
So today's meeting, due to the COVID pandemic and resulting state and federal emergency declarations, is being held under Minnesota Statute 13D-021, meetings by telephone and other electronic means. This meeting was noticed to include or provide information on how to participate in today's meeting, and the meeting is being held virtually by Zoom. Under statute, the chair must state which members are participating by phone or Zoom, and that is everybody today. We do need to have every member right now acknowledge that they can hear. So I will go through each commissioner and ask you to just acknowledge that you can hear the conversation. So I'll start with Commissioner Kemp. Can you hear everything okay?
I can hear everything, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Kolars?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Drannel?
I can hear you fine.
And Commissioner Marl?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and Commissioner Lipke is present here with me. During the meeting, just a reminder, under statute, we need to conduct all votes by roll call, so that will be occurring on all motions today. And with that, I'll turn it over to the chair for approval of the agenda.
Is there a motion for approval of the agenda?
I think there was an addition that came late that we need to slot.
Yes, I have two items today to include a resolution modifying service delivery, and we can put that after property and public services. And then to also add a public appearance section under the drainage authority.
Move to approve as amended.
Is there a second?
I'll second Kolars.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Roll call.
Oh, a roll call. Sarah does that?
Sarah, can you do the roll call?
Yep. Commissioner Kemp,
Yes.
Morrow,
Yes,
Lipke,
Yes.
Drannel,
Yes.
Kolars,
Yes.
Thank you. Passes. Public appearances.
Consent agenda. Consent agenda first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, consent agenda.
Kemp will move the consent agenda.
Motion
Druttle will second.
and a second. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kemp,
Yes.
Commissioner Drannel,
Yes.
Commissioner Lipke,
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow,
yes,
Commissioner Kolars.
Yes.
Passes. Thank you. Do we have public appearances? Sarah, is there someone out there?
no one is present.
No.
Thank you. Finance, motion for the December 2020 and January 2021 bill approvals. What was that?
Heather will be presenting this.
Okay.
Good morning.
Morning, Heather.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Yes, I'm here today to looking for a motion for December 2020 and January 2021 bill approval. Each year we have a little bit different schedule in December and January. Usually our meetings are conducted on the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month, except for these 2 months. So in order to maintain efficient accounting procedures and provide timely payment to vendors, employees, and providers, warrant distribution needs to occur on that regular schedule that we normally have. So the finance department is looking for authorization to issue the following commissioner warrants with board approval at the board scheduled meetings in December and January noted on the agenda. I will read those dates. So normally scheduled board meeting would would be the payment date. So the 12/8/20 would be approved at board at 12:15. The 12/22/20 warrants will be approved on January 5th, 2021. We do a batch or extra payment batch on the last day of the year, which is 12/31/20. Those will be approved on January 5th, 2021. And then the final one, which is January 12th, 2020, would be approved at the board on January 26th, 2021. So I'm looking for a motion to approve this schedule.
So moved, Colars.
Kemp seconds.
With motion and a second, call to roll, please, or any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kemp,
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow,
Yes.
Lipke,
Yes.
Drano,
Yes.
Colars.
Yes.
Thank you. Passes. Anything else for us, Heather?
No, not today. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Health and Human Services.
Yeah, we have Cassie here to present today to provide us with a COVID-19 update. Good morning, Cassie.
Good morning. I have a few areas to provide updates on today, and so I will give a brief overview and pause between each section to answer any questions that you might have. Firstly, just an update on our testing event that occurred last Tuesday. Overall, we feel it was a very smoothly run event. The community center location worked very well. We saw many age groups participate, from babies to the elderly, with many full families. People seem to really appreciate the lack of barriers to the testing, not needing insurance and not needing to have symptoms to access testing. We had 31 Health and Human Services staff members work the event, and we had a handful of Gustavus students assist with the testing as well. Overall, we had 686 tests completed, and we got our results in this weekend. We had a 4.8 positivity rate, which is a little bit lower than we would have expected. That did give us the opportunity to reach out to everybody who tested positive and go over isolation and quarantine procedures with them. Any questions related to the testing event?
Go ahead, John.
What was the total number you tested?
686.
Okay, thank you.
And I should add that our capacity was 600. We planned on 600 tests being accomplished. So we were very happy to see an additional 86 people attend.
Mr. Chair, if I could, Cassie, thank you for that. I know at least Commissioner Drantle and Morrow and I were getting tested that day. So 4.8% positive out of 686 is about 32, 33 people.
We had 33 positive.
33 positive. So what happens to them?
So we were able to make contact with them over the weekend and go through any close contacts that they might have had prior to onset of symptoms. So we were able then to discuss with them how long they should stay home in isolation, and then assist them in contacting people who they might have had additional contact with, so that those people could quarantine for 14 days. So our goal there being that some of those people may have been asymptomatic, and we could stop the spread from people that they had contact with.
So what would have been an alarming number instead of 4.8?
I think we're hearing that there can be an average of up to 10% for the nasal swab testing. And on some occasions when it is saliva, we've seen up to 25% positivity rate. So a 4.8% rate is very good for us. And I would also add that Gustavus had a saliva testing event that we participated in the Friday before. They had roughly 1,300 people participate in the testing, and they had a positivity rate of 1.5%. And we really attribute that to the very regular testing and contact tracing that Gustavus has been doing.
That's good. Thank you.
Mr. Chair. This is Denny. I have Cassie. Did we have, or were we able to meet the needs of our population that doesn't necessarily have English as their first language? Were there resources available for those individuals?
We did have a Spanish and Somali interpreter on site for the duration of the day, and we were able to utilize those services during the day, which was really nice to see.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chair, if I could, again, grateful for your work and all of the folks that volunteered or worked that day. How was that test financed again? Was that state money or is that coming out of our county?
The PPE and the testing supplies were provided to us from the Minnesota Department of Health and the Emergency Operations Center. We did have one staff person from the State Emergency Operations Center present and one person from their platform for technology present as well. And the rest of the funding was just our staff time from the county.
Okay, Cassie, anything else? You had a few more subjects, I think.
I do. I have a couple more areas, yes. An update on our case investigation and contact tracing. As of early yesterday afternoon, we had 1,473 total COVID-19 cases, with 224 of them being active currently in Nichola County. Our trends that we continue to see are very much related to social gatherings, workplaces, daycares, sporting events and practices, and some long-term care facilities. In the last week, mainly the last few days, we've started to see clusters at area restaurants again as well. We currently are reporting 24 deaths, unfortunately, in Nicollet County specific to COVID-19. 23 of them have been confirmed and one is still pending confirmation. In looking at our contact tracing team, I just wanted to note that we currently have 11 people in Health and Human Services assigned to this role, 3 people now doing this as their full-time responsibility. We do continue to see getting this done at the local level to be one of the best ways in which we can mitigate spread. So we do continue to shuffle resources so that we can build on that team. Any questions about case investigation or contact tracing?
We can go to the next subject.
I will discuss vaccination briefly. We do have a meeting later today about this, so we will have more information in the near future. What I can share today is that we are currently registering as a COVID-19 vaccine provider with the state, and we are submitting a plan for how we would provide vaccination. Local public health has been told that we will have a role in assisting with the first phase of vaccination, which will be healthcare workers in our area. So we're currently working with pharmacies and long-term care facilities to learn more about their plans and their interest in getting help from us. We are told at this point that the earliest phase of the vaccine could start arriving in 3 weeks. So we are working closely with the South Central Healthcare Coalition and other local public health departments to prepare for how we would be a part of that plan. We have discussed in previous board meetings the need for one of the vaccines to have ultra cold storage at around -75 degrees Celsius. And so we are right now looking in the region at having 2 hubs for those storage facilities to be, which would be Mayo in Mankato and the Renewal Medical Center. We are told that it can be refrigerated for up to 5 days following that freezer time. So we would just have a rather significant plan to put together for distribution. We are also hearing that the Minnesota Department of Health has said there will be funding available for local public health to assist us in the costs that we might have in administering these vaccines. And we are still in the process of learning more about what the second phase of distribution would be, likely for people who have significant health conditions. Any questions as it relates to vaccine?
So Cassie, are some of these one step and some two step, or are they all just one?
We are hearing right now that they are all two-step.
All two step, okay. And the one from yesterday is probably not gonna, too much of that go to the United States. Is that your understanding too?
I haven't heard an update on the one from yesterday, only the two that were the front runners early on.
Okay. Well, the one from yesterday is gonna be manufactured in India, and India says 50% of it's going to India. Plus it was developed in England, so.
Sure. Right now, it looks like we're looking at, I'm probably going to butcher these names, Moderna and Pfizer.
Okay.
It looks like there's a third one called AstraZeneca that also requires 2 doses but has a lower efficacy rate.
Any other questions for Cassie?
Mr.
Jack,
Chair, thank you. Do you have the same apprehensions that the anti-maskers will become anti-vaxxers?
I do worry that people will be very cautious about the vaccination, absolutely. I think that we will spend a lot of time here in the next few weeks learning as much as we can about it, because I think it's probably fairly normal for people to have reservations about the safety of a new vaccination. So I think the more that we can learn about it as a local public health, the more that we can share with our community members and hopefully ease some of those concerns.
Thank you. Cassie, you have anything else for us?
I have one last item, which is just a brief update on the CARES funding that was distributed by Health and Human Services. Our crisis funding, which was used for things like rent, utilities, and car repairs for people who had lost employment related to COVID-19, we were able to assist 13 families and spend approximately $30,000 of CARES funding. Our distance learning, we were able to purchase devices for 12 families who would not have had devices provided to them by a school and spent approximately $4,000 in that area. Our child care funding assistance, we were able to assist 10 families in paying for child care, spending approximately $15,000. And our health and safety assistance program was able to assist 36 community organizations in PPE and other safety supplies. And we spent approximately $45,000 on those items. We do have some of those items remaining in stock right now, so we will be working on a process for ongoing distribution to community members as we move ahead in the pandemic.
Any other questions for Cassie?
I just will add that some of those programs, we were hoping for a larger turnout, like in the crisis funding and childcare, but what happened was other agencies received funding as well through the state and other sources, and so there was multiple opportunities for people to participate or get funding, so which is a good thing. They don't have to come through us, so we were just glad to help the folks that we did help.
On that point, Ryan, Mr. Chair, if I could, so we still have some money that wasn't claimed by businesses, I think in the tune of $225,000 or something like that. Would that go into the reserve, Ryan, Cassie, for these care fund needs in Health and Human Services?
Yeah, anything that we had budgeted for community and business assistance that didn't get spent will be claimed as a payroll reimbursement for our payroll expenses related to COVID. And that will go into our reserves and can be used at the discretion of the board. I know we've had some discussions of earmarking that for future health and safety expenses that will likely incur related to the pandemic.
Well,
John, this
Cassie,
is Terry. Can you hear me? John?
Yes.
First, I want to apologize to everybody. I'm actually in upstate New York right now, so I apologize for the quality of my call. My parents had a medical emergency yesterday, and my mother's having surgery today. So I'm on my way to help them over the next few days. So I apologize for only being able to call in. But I also wanted to thank Cassie. Cassie, I want to thank you for your work on the AMC discussions with DHS. Just so everyone knows, Cassie's been a participant in conversations about the upcoming budget problems and long-term planning for DHS. So in the midst of everything else that's on her plate, she's doing that as well. So Cassie, thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Terry. And Cassie, like Red Green says, we're all pulling for you because you're having a difficult and interesting year.
That is very true. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Anybody else? Question? Okay, I guess we can go on, huh?
Yes.
Wait.
We're not to 9:30 yet, and I know we've got some public comments, so maybe we could,
6-minute break.
well, what we could do is we could take some of the other agenda items here. Mandy, are you ready to do your items?
Yes, I can do the one conditional use permit. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I do have one conditional use permit, and that is for Sherry Halkey. It's the 3-year renewal of the conditional use permit for mineral extraction. Previously, they had 8 acres within their project area, 5 of them that are actively mined, and 3 that are remaining to be mined within this current phase. There were no public comment received at the meeting nor prior to the meeting, and the Planning Commission recommended unanimous approval of this request. This is one of the mini gravel pits located in Cortland Township in Section 16, and it's just a very basic request. They have continued to slowly move forward with their mineral extraction activities, and we have not received any complaints on this facility. So what I have in your packet is a recommendation to adopt the conditional use permit and findings of fact.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Denny.
I would make the motion with the findings of facts attached.
Marie?
I would second that.
A motion and second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kemp,
Yes.
Commissioner Drano,
Yes.
Lipke,
Yes.
Morrow,
Yes.
Kolars.
Yes.
Okay,
Passes.
thank you, Mandy. We have to wait till 10 o'clock for Mandy's second item. So what I would suggest, Mr. Chair, is we could do the agenda addition that I provided for regarding modification of service delivery.
Yes, yes, please.
So the agenda addition we had today is regarding a resolution to approve appointment-only services in the Health and Human Services Building and Nicollet County Government Center due to the increasing cases of the COVID virus. This resolution would make appointment-only services in the Government Center effective November 30th. We've actually already implemented and have been implementing appointment-only services since basically May in Health and Human Services. These appointments would occur until further notice, and service delivery modifications in the law enforcement center would be made as determined by the Nicollet County Sheriff, and then other buildings that require modification would be determined by myself. Again, we would plan to do this starting next Monday. Property and Public Services is planning to implement an app that allows individuals to schedule appointments, and we would have that available for all of their customers. Really, the other departments in the building have very limited traffic coming in, so we're able to manage those relatively easily. But we are planning to go to the No Wait Inside app, which Health and Human Services has been using for several months now, and it's worked pretty effectively for them. So we'll have that set up and ready to go for Monday. I have the resolution stating that myself would authorize return back into service when appropriate. Obviously, I would do that in consultation with the county board like we did in the spring. As we know, this is a changing environment. It seems day to day or week to week. So I hate to put an exact date on this at this point.
Mr. Chair, I'd move the resolution as provided.
Is there a second?
I'll second. I got a question. I've had some conversation with Ryan already this morning.
Motion and a second. Go ahead, Jack.
On the fourth whereas, can we clarify that where it says are expected to increase, to continue increase, we might need to add the word to increase. I had suggested to Ryan in an email earlier, asking if in number 5, if appointment only services would be bolded or considered capitalized or maybe underlined, and he had suggested that he didn't like that idea. Opening it up for discussion. I have another question.
Go ahead, Jack. You have another question.
Well, I can address Commissioner Kollar's piece on that. We certainly can. We typically don't bold language in resolutions because the resolution will not be what is posted other than in our minutes. What we're already working on is signage for the building, for Facebook, for our website, press releases that emphasizes the appointment piece. So we certainly could put it as bold, but in all honesty, no one really sees this resolution.
I understand that. Thank you, Ryan. And then Ryan did address one of the other concerns that I had in be it resolved, the 7th paragraph. I was asking whether or not we should, after it says when deemed appropriate, and adding the words following consultation with the county board. I guess, Ryan, you've answered that in your oratory here this morning.
Yeah, we certainly can add that, but in order to keep things flexible, which has proven beneficial, I'd like to just keep it open. Obviously, any significant changes we need to make would have board inputs, or at a very minimum, the chair's inputs. And I would suggest we just try to keep it as flexible as possible.
Well, and the only reason I brought it up is if statute specifies only a county board can authorize closing during an emergency, it would seem to me that a county board should be consulted on a reopening. So that was the only point that I had. So if we could dial back to 4th paragraph, and are expected to continue to increase, adding the word to increase. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you, Jack. Other questions? Yes,
I have a question. Can you give us an update on what the courts are doing on the 3rd floor?
Yeah, so courts, their order goes into effect on Monday the 30th as well. They are postponing trials, or not scheduling additional trials. And Michelle's shaking her head at me already. So they've delayed trials and hearings until February, and I'll let Michelle give the details there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was going to just note that I did talk with Ryan regarding the courts to be included in needing to continue to have some access. They are limiting use of the service window, and jury trials are being postponed or not to start absent order of the district chief judge, as well as the Supreme Court justice. So while I expect those trials to be few and far between, there is not a complete exemption of the possibility of jury trials or other in-person hearings. But before jury trials and in-person hearings can occur, there has to be that order from the Chief District Judge and the Supreme Court Justice. But that, my understanding is that Ryan will be in communication with courts regarding the need for access for that purpose.
Right. What we're planning to do is courts will have a sign on the door stating, if you need court service, call this number. They expect very limited service needs unless we do have some sort of trial or hearing that we have to have. But we'll be in consultation with them. We are planning to staff the front door of the government center, at least initially, to help facilitate the appointment process. And should we have a trial or other event in the courts that draws a lot of folks, we would staff it those days as well. So we think we have a plan that will work. It'll be a little bit of trial and error the first couple days, but I think we'll be able to do this relatively easily and still provide service. Just we won't be able to do as many driver's licenses as we had been before.
Okay, thank you.
Question I would have, and I think it's covered with Whitney and Ryan already, is I'd like a phone number on the door if the door is locked in case somebody drives 40 miles for a license tabs or something, that they could call in and possibly get in.
Yeah, I don't, I'll look to Jackie and maybe Cassie here. The No Wait Inside app, I don't know if there's an option to call for an appointment or is it online only?
So what we've been told and what our plan is that it is online, but if somebody wants to call our office, we will just go on our website, click on the online app and schedule their appointment for them.
Thank you, Jackie.
If they drove 40 miles and we don't have any openings, they may have to wait, so.
Yes, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? See, we have the motion, right?
Yeah.
Call the roll, please.
Kemp,
Yes.
Lipke,
Yes.
Kohlers,
Yes.
Drannel,
Yes.
Morrow,
Yes.
Okay. I can call the Drainage Authority to order.
Correct.
I'll call the Drainage Authority to order. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Campbell moved the consent agenda.
Okay. We have a motion.
Drennel to second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Drannel,
Yes.
Lipke,
Yes.
Morrow,
Yes.
Yes.
Kemp, Kohlers.
Commissioner Kohler stepped away, it looks like, so we'll just record a no vote there.
Okay, passes. So we go to 86A.
Well, so what I would suggest here, Mr. Chair, is we've added a public appearance section to the meeting today. So if anybody has any comments regarding any of the remaining Drainage Authority items, be it the maintenance levies or 86A improvements, this would be the time to provide those now.
So on 86A, I have a conflict of interest. So and we don't really think Terry should try and chair it while he's driving. So would one of the other commissioners like to take over?
Whoever you want, John.
And I will make a comment as a landowner sometime in the discussion. So Denny, you're in charge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Acting as current chair, I would open the public hearing or public meeting, public input, not public hearing, public input section. And our topic will be I'm assuming you would prefer to take 86A first. Is that right, Ryan?
Yeah, that's fine. That's what the comments are going to be for today. So.
Okay. And I see one frequent commentator on those topics is Mr. Flaggy. So Lynn, if you can hear me, would you like to speak to the issues of 86A?
Well, I think I kind of left it all, every commissioner know my opinion on it. I also left email with Jackie. I think she said she was gonna read it. My only question right now, well, I'll just state it. We gotta get this done. It's been, what, 6 years almost. Let's just get it done and be over with it. And we know it's more expensive, but it ain't gonna be any cheaper next year. And my only question would be is if Attorney Michelle Fisher could give me her opinion. Are we ready to go on this? We're good to go on it? That'd be my only question.
Michelle, I'll let you decide if you want to respond or not.
Mr. Chair, the procedural posture of the project is for the board to accept or reject the bids that were submitted. And so after that process is completed or that decision, then the project would either move forward or be rebid or act as the board would deem appropriate.
Lynn, do you have anything more? Otherwise, I know Jackie Kopit did receive 2 emails, including yours, that were asked to be read today. So should we go to that, Lynn, or do you have anything else?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead, Jackie's email, and then if the other email is different, I may want to say something after that. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I have 2 emails today, and I will read Lynn's email first. Hi, Jackie. I've discussed and went through the decision, the design and bids for 86A pump station with several other landowners. It is our general consensus that the Nicollet County Board should approve the recommendation of ISG and approve the bids for installing a new pump station. We understand it is more expensive than 2 years ago, before all the legal stuff started. We have been on this for 5 to 6 years now, and it is time to get it done before we need to do more expensive repairs. We could have saved about $150,000 to $300,000 just in the last 2 years on repairs. If we delay another year, more repairs will be needed, and it'll be more expensive to put in a new pump station. Let's just get it done. Any questions, please call. Thank you, Lynn Fleege. The other email I received was from Tim Weibel, and I'll go ahead and read that one as well. Dear Nicollet County Commissioners and staff, this letter is in regards to the County Ditch 86A discussion about the bids on the proposed ditch project. As we all know, the County Ditch 86A project has been a long process from the beginning to the present, and now the project bids came in on the high side. As caretaker of the existing pumping system, the current equipment is completely worn out. The intake pipes are rusting through where you can see the dirt. One pump has an electrical issue, other pump needs a shaft, and another has a hole worn through the discharge pipe. During this last summer, a sinkhole developed right inside the pump house. I'm afraid that the current dike will fail in the near term. I have been putting off repairs of these current issues in hopes that the new pumping system will be installed. Although there is a tremendous cost with the new system, there is a huge benefit to the new system. With the new system, we have a 3-year warranty on all pumps. I also feel that there will be great savings and great efficient use of electricity with these new pumps because of the variable speeds and updated technology that will be implemented in the construction of this new project. I feel over the last 3 years after this project is complete, the only expenses will be electricity and simple maintenance. If this project is denied to the petitioners, we have the potential to have to start all over. That could include the permitting process with the DNR. I feel that permitting process was our biggest challenge in the beginning. Thank you for all the time that you have put into this ongoing project. Your support on this project would be much appreciative. Tim and Mary Jean Weibel.
Is that the extent of what you have, Jackie, for written commentary?
Yes, those are my 2 written comments from landowners. I don't know if there's anybody else on the call.
Okay, John, did you wish to speak to this as a landowner?
Yes, I believe the county board, before Denny and I and Terry were on, had a tour of these pumps probably about 6 years ago. And at that time, the general consensus was something had to be done. Well, there's been a lot of major repairs since then, and it's going to be a lot of money, but it probably will be more money because if we have a lot of repairs the next year or 2 and then start over again, it would still be more money. So I think you should accept the bids and we go forward. I had quite a discussion with Chuck Brandel the other evening, and I think his numbers were probably pretty accurate when they were written, but the appeals kind of messed things up. So that's my opinion, kind of echoed your other 2 emails. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other persons that we have yet to identify that would like to speak to this matter?
Chuck Brandel's here with any questions that you have, or if you want me to go over anything. Just wanted to let you know.
Thanks, Chuck. And we'll come back to that when we get to the bid recommendations, unless there's somebody that has a specific question of Chuck right now. I'm sorry?
Lynn has a question.
Lynn, I didn't see your hand up because I don't have the whole screen here. So go ahead, Lynn.
Okay. As long as Chuck Brandel's on line here, my only comment would be is I know Chuck will treat us right. His figures were substantially more than originally. And I know he'll consider discounting us a little bit on that. Is that correct, Chuck?
We'll take care of you. I'll just say that. But we got to make sure the job gets done correctly.
I agree with you on that.
Is there anyone else online that would like to speak to this matter? If not procedurally, I'm sorry.
Danny, Chuck did add the other night, I visited with him, that there's a couple sections of those bids that could probably get sent to a local contractor and save some money. Is that correct, Chuck? Did I understand it right?
If I may, I could just say that there's 2 items that we could maybe save some money on, and we could ask after the bid award. We could potentially ask for a request for information. The common borrow material that's used to fill the station, was very high number. If landowners have readily available material closer by or would offer it to be dropped off, we could potentially do a savings there. The removal of the existing lift station is the last item. That is something else we could get another quote on. Both of those items, when you add them up, are well over 100,000. We may be able to save $50,000 plus or minus. Oops, sorry, getting a phone call right in the middle of that. So, but again, those would have to be negotiated later. So, those are both items that don't affect the maintenance or performance of the station. So,
Chair Kemp, I would suggest if there's no more just general comments, we should segue into the 86A agenda item and out of the public comment piece.
That's fine. I just want to know if we were going to kind of jump around on that agenda item. So, yeah, and I'm fine with that. So, seeing no other indications that there is intent to speak, we will close the hearing portion of this and bring ourselves back to the agenda item, which is the bid of 86A.
Denny, this is Terry.
Go ahead, Terry.
Thank you. I think, Denny, I'm going to ask the same question you were about to ask about process and kind of where we stand. And Chuck's information about the common borrow, which I have to admit gave me some heartburn when I saw that number. I'd like to have someone lay out what our options are, and then we could discuss them.
that question goes back to Chuck. My assumption is that when we grant the bid, that would be negotiated with the bid person after the fact, but Chuck, you may have some insight into that in your process.
Correct. I could just quickly answer that. So the contractor is getting material from somewhere. They haven't given an answer on where that is. I assume if we award this to them, they will. I did talk to a few landowners saying that they might have some material closer by that they could stockpile or get the contractor availability to. So the process would be that we would issue an RFI, essentially a request for information, saying that if we have material here, how would that change your price instead of hauling it from another location? And get a negative change order is what it would be.
Sure, Chuck, and thank you for that. If I might continue, Denny.
Please.
So Chuck, I think I meant it on more of a macro level. John, as John mentioned, I also went out there. I've seen the station. I think something's got to be done. My recollection in our last meeting was there were these bids. That was one option, is accepting the bid. Chuck, I think you talked about a different approach, and I think maybe that means starting a process over about doing a 50-year fix on this rather than the full scope of the work that was laid out in this bid process. Am I correct that those are, or do nothing, I guess would be the third option. Am I missing anything, Chuck?
Well, you could approve the bids as is. You could approve the bids and negotiate a few items. You could reject the bids. You could rebid the project with a redesign, or you could break the project up and rebid it in parts. My recommendation with the condition of the existing station and the contractor that we have would be, I mean, we're kind of jumping ahead here, but is to move forward with the bids and try to renegotiate those items that, somebody from farther away was having problems getting material, and solve those issues for them up front, with a change order. So.
Does that answer your question, Terry?
Well, yeah, thank you, Denny. Yes, I think it does. And I want to be really clear. I support the notion that something needs to be done here. I guess I'm going to close the loop here, Chuck. I think all the contractors that bid were not local contractors. And are you still of the opinion, Chuck, that trying to rebid to get a local contractor may not be the best way to go on this?
I would agree. From my knowledge, there's only one local contractor that has experience with anything similar to this. So rebidding that, I did bring up the project to that local contractor, so they were aware of it and they didn't bid it. So rebidding it, I think, would be a risk in this case.
All right. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Denny.
A question from my purview is, there was discussion about the common barrel, but then I think I heard a discussion about the demo of the existing site. Was that also a potentially negotiable item, Chuck?
Yes, because the existing pump station stays intact until they're done with their work. That's the last item to be completed. So we could get a local bid just for that item, see where it comes in at, and then ask for a deletion of that item from this contractor. I don't think they have any heartburn over that. They need the existing station and the berm that's there for the station in place so they can construct there. So it's the absolute last thing they do. And that bid came in, I believe it was around 43 or 45,000. Just talking amongst some of the petitioners, they thought maybe they could get that for for half that price. So,
Mr. Chair,
Jackie?
can I jump in a little bit? Can we back
Please.
up a little bit? We kind of jumped into the nuts and bolts of the bid. Can we back up a little bit and Chuck start over with who the bidders were and the costs and kind of start from the beginning and move on down?
That's fine. Do I hear any objection to that? So I guess, Chuck, we're back to your original proposal and recommendations based on the bids that are before all of the board members, all of the voting board members.
yes. Okay. Is it okay if I share my screen or
Yeah,
not?
I think she may have to authorize you to share, but just stand by a minute if Sarah can do that. I don't know if she left that option open to you directly, Chuck, so you can try it if you want.
Not directly open to him. I could make him the host and share his screen. And
If you want to make him a host or co-host, I think the co-host has usually those privileges also, whichever.
Otherwise, if you have the bid recommendation, you could just bring that up and I can go through that. That would also work.
And I think that's in your attached packet.
There you go. This will work. So if you just want to page down, we broke this project up into two bid packages. The first bid package was for the pump station, and it had 5 alternates, which included a prefab building, some substitutions for potentially some less expensive pipes versus ductile iron pipes, adding a mechanical trash rake, adding an isolation gate, and then adding a slide gate. So we received bids on September 24th. The apparent low bidder was Lametti and Sons from Hugo, Minnesota. They had a base bid of $1,769,017. Based on our updated estimates for 2020 numbers, our estimate would be $1,782,000. The highest bid was just over 2.2 million, and you can see the bidders were from Hugo, Mora, Jordan, Marshfield, and Jordan. So if we just page down a little bit. So here's a summary of all of the bids and the bid alternates. We are recommending Lametti and Sons, the lowest bid, with bid alternate number 5. That is a slide gate on the culvert just upstream of the lift station. So that way, if we ever needed to block the flow and completely dry out the lift station, we would be able to isolate that. So that's something we talked with staff. So we're recommending the base bid plus bid alternate number 5. Continuing down, just shows the totals with bid alternate number 5. And so we are recommending Lametti at the 1.785 number. For bid package number 2, that was for a 24-inch tile. That was also part of the improvement. The lowest bid was Far and Away Trucking from LeSueur with $49,900. We are recommending approval of their bid. It was under our estimate now and our estimate from a couple years ago. So just continuing down on the letter, shows all of the bid results. Because of the size of the project, these are all smaller companies. But we did receive some good feedback from Far and Away. We have not worked with them, but again, it's a fairly small project. So we did do a post-bid analysis looking at if the project is still cost effective. We updated the separable maintenance using 2020 average costs from the bid, which generally were about 20% higher. When with that, if you continue down on the letter, I do have detail attached. We want to go through that. If you stop right there, the project would still have a net benefit of $61,000, very close to what it had back when we approved this a couple years ago, updating the separable maintenance and the improvement costs. We can go into more detail on this, but based on that information, continue down on the
Did you
letter.
know that are we muted?
Keep going. Keep going down to the very end of the letter portion. So I did put together the options that we just discussed, approving the bids as is, rejecting the bids, rebidding the project in parts, rebid the project with the redesign, and approve the bids and modify parts of the project. My recommendation is to approve the bids as is, and then do some negotiating or a request for information, essentially to see if we could get a lower price for the dirt that's hauled in and removing the structure at the outlet of the system. So there's more detail attached, but that's a summary of our bid recommendation to award bid package number 1 to Lametti and Sons and bid package number 2 to Faraway Trucking. They would both start probably immediately once we get contracts completed. The pumps take about 6 months to order. So if we got a contract going immediately, we could have the pumps potentially working and when we get a spring thaw or shortly after.
Jackie, does that cover the bases that you wanted to include?
Yes, thank you.
Is there any other additional discussion or questions? And if hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to act.
Well, Denny, this is Terry, and I'm about to make a motion, but I do have one final question then for Chuck, just for my clarification. Chuck, why wouldn't we remove the common borrow part and the demolition part? Is that because we'd have to restart a process? I just wonder why we don't just remove it then if we can't get it when we go back to the original contractor.
So to answer that question, we bid the project as a unit price bid. So we could ask to remove that. They might have put something else in part of that unit price. So I wouldn't, my recommendation to you would be to ask us to essentially get a change order to reduce those after the project is awarded and remove those. So not
Well, thank you, Chuck.
removal. Ask us to do that and get that completed with the contractor.
Okay, then, Denny, this is Terry again. I would move Chuck's recommendation for approval.
We have a motion. Is that clear enough for all to understand? Just to make sure that is the as is Engineer Brandel's recommendation would be to approve the bids, which was the final engineer's report with amendment 2, and then the options. Is that correct?
That is what I intend. If you want Chuck to explain it one more time, that's fine with me, Denny.
I just want everybody to be clear, and Jackie, so that we're clear, how would you like that? And I guess, Madam County Attorney, how would you like that to be very clear on our action here?
Can you, I'm sorry, I was getting feedback on my end that I think has now gone away. Can you repeat your question to me, Mr. Chair?
The process of how we have a motion to approve as Engineer Brandel recommended in his letter, which was to approve the bids, which to my understanding was the initial bid to the primary contractor for the pump site plus amendment 5 plus
alternate 5.
I'm sorry, was it amendment 5, Chuck?
Alternate 5. Yes.
Alternate 5. I'm sorry, alternate 5.
Yep.
plus then a second bid to Faraway for the second portion, which is involving lateral 2, right?
Correct.
So my question to you, Madam County Attorney, we just want to have the motion to reflect that desire, and have we met those requirements? That's all I'm asking.
And just to clarify Terry's motion, it was to also then go back to the contractor and get clarification or to remove the common borrow as well as the demolition of the pump station at the completion of the project. Is that my understanding?
Terry, I'll let you speak to that.
Terry, that is correct. That is correct.
So the motion would be as you indicated, with the direction that he go back to the contractor to remove the common borrow and the pump station would be my understanding of Terry's motion.
That would also be mine. Do any of the other board have an issue with that? I'm still seeking a second.
I'll second that.
Marie seconds. Any additional discussion to make sure everybody's clear on this? Or is everybody okay?
Well, Mr. Chair, certainly I'm old enough to remember touring this facility with former commissioners Stenson, Dave Hack, and Bruce Beatty, and Clete Trepfer and Judy Hansen. This has been a long time coming. And the feedback that we've all received in these past few days was it's damn expensive, but it's time to get it done. So I guess I would support this. The only question I have for Chuck, and this is because my mother taught me how to spell back when I was 5. Your last paragraph, in the engineer's opinion, requirements, and is cost effective. I think that should mean effective, right?
It should be E. You are correct.
It's an anal thing. I'm sorry. So
That should be an E.
I'll support the measure or the motion.
Marie, I guess you're the only one. Since you were the seconder, I'm assuming you're happy with this?
Not happy, but we don't have a choice.
Exactly. Very well. Hearing nothing else, I will ask for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Morrow? Commissioner Morrow?
Yes. Yes.
Durano?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes.
Lipke? Oh, not voting yes, sorry. Kohlers?
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously, and that completes our business for 86A and the bid process. I think that's the only item you had to recuse yourself on, Commissioner Lipke, so I would gratefully turn the board back to you as chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just now to go back to Mr. Fleege's question, at this point then, Mr. Brandel will be moving forward to contact the contractor to obtain the necessary contract and bonds, and then the project will move forward. So to answer his question about the project moving forward, that's procedurally where we're at this point.
Thank you. Oh, we got Mandy again?
No, we can go to 2020 annual maintenance levies. For ditch.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to sign off.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you to
Chuck.
those who have an interest.
Oh, Lynn, did you have a question or?
Yeah, my only question was, that separate maintenance thing, the original was 900,000 something. If I'm not mistaken, then 900,000 would be charged back to the ditch system according to the old determination, and the new is charged back to the new determination. Does that 1.4 million now. Go
Jackie
back
question,
to
isn't
the
it?
original.
Jackie and Chuck.
Yes,
I could answer that, or I could call you, Lynn, and answer that too, either way. So,
okay. Appreciate that. Thank you.
okay. If that's all right, I'll give Lynn a call offline and talk about that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, 2020 maintenance levies, is that Jackie?
Jackie.
It is. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as you're all aware, annually, our office reviews the balances in all the ditch systems. And this year I have several ditch systems that have negative ditch balances that I've determined that we should special assess back or charge back. I've attached the spreadsheet to indicate the breakdowns of it. If you want to refer to that spreadsheet, there's 6 ditches. County ditch 8A, and that's just for general maintenance and repairs. County ditch 16A, county ditch 24A, and county ditch 30A are for approved cleanings that we did have hearings on. County ditch 86A is for the pump maintenance and repairs, and this kind of can show how much those pumps are costing every single year. And county ditch 96A had some general maintenance and repairs as well. So I have attached the findings and the order in your packet for your consideration. The order is for those 6 ditches and the amount to levy. The order also lays out the terms if not paid before December 31st, 2020. So that would be for, oh, there we go. So that would be if they're not paid by December 31st, they will go on the tax rolls at a 4% interest rate, and depending on the amount of the assessment, a 1 to 3 year assessment on those properties if not paid. So I would be asking the board to approve those findings and order.
One motion or 6 of them?
This would be one motion for the entire findings and order.
Okay. Thank you, Jackie. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move for the findings of fact and the directive as indicated in the resolution.
Is there a second?
Okay, Terry's on mute.
Terry, did you say something? I think we lost him.
Yeah, he's connected.
No, I did it, but if, are you looking for a second?
Yes.
Oh, I'll second, so if there's any discussion.
Okay, you have a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Or no, sorry, roll call.
Kemp,
Yes.
Morrow,
Yes.
Lipke,
Yes,
Drano,
Yes.
Kohlers.
passes.
Thank you.
Can adjourn the.
We'll adjourn the drainage meeting and return to the regular board meeting. Mandy, you have something for us?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board again. Today is our public hearing for the adoption of the County Comprehensive Plan. I just want to give a little background and then I'll turn it over to Craig Vaughn with SRF Consulting Group to do a short presentation about the information that they found and some additional data sources and a brief layout of the plan. Like I said, just a little history on this. The plan was originally adopted in 1985, so it's approximately 35 years old and definitely is in need of an update, both with the demographics and some statistics, but also then updating of the general maps within the plan. Throughout the process, we did meet with members of the public, whether through the project management team, the focus groups, or the open houses, which were specifically to address public participation and to get feedback. In addition to those open houses, survey was also available for the public to complete. The results of the survey and the open house exercises are in Appendix A if you're curious. That is all housed within the comp plan. So there are specific comments that we did receive from the public, and then the overall exercises which was an opportunity for the public to suggest areas for rezoning or for certain activities. Last week on November 16th, the Planning and Zoning Advisory Commission did hold a public hearing as required by statute. We did receive one comment from a member of the public, and this individual was actually there to attend a different public hearing, but did raise the question, and just more out of curiosity, as if the county had a plan or a map available of all of the existing feedlots located. We have not heard anything from this individual as far as she would want to pursue that, but we do have that data available. As far as that, we did not receive any additional comments at the meeting, nor prior to the meeting, whether it be email, letter, or a phone call. And so with all the information and the presentation, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of the request. Before I get any further, though, I think we do want to share our screen, Sarah, with Craig Vaughn, so he can do his presentation, and then we'll be available for any questions following Craig's presentation.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Can you everyone hear me okay? I think I saw a couple head nods. I'll go with that maybe.
Yeah, you're good, Craig.
Thank you. Good morning. Let's see if I have the screen share capabilities here. I just need that turned on, whoever has the controls on that side.
It looks like you're a host now.
Okay, I'm going to stop the other person from sharing then. It's asking me. Alrighty.
Mr. Chair, I'm not getting any sound from Greg. Is that my problem or your problem?
Our problem.
Heather, can you hear me?
Oh, no.
Okay, Heather can hear me.
Yeah,
Michelle can hear me. Okay, I see some names and faces here. Mr. Chair, are you able to hear me as well?
Yeah, we can hear you, Craig.
I think I see a thumbs up. Okay, there we go, Mr. Chair.
Now you're back. I must have been in the swap over for host. Thanks.
Okay, no worries. Sounds good. Alrighty, well, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Thanks for having me here this morning. I'm going to proceed with our presentation regarding the update process overview for the Nichola County Comprehensive Plan update. I'll give a brief overview of the comprehensive plan itself with respect to each of the chapters, and then I'll finish with a very succinct and brief slide regarding next steps and your opportunity for adoption of the comprehensive plan. The update process from an overview perspective was one that was based on 4 different phases: data collection, gathering demographics and physical information about the county and population projections, outlining the goals and policy statements for a vision for the county over the course of the next 20 plus years, and then working through the planning analysis phase to analyze the different categories relative to land use, transportation, parks and rec, and natural resources, and then laying out the plan, actually documenting all of that work in coordination with county staff. All throughout, public engagement was a component of the process, as Mandy identified in her opening comments. Here's just a brief graphic to kind of give you a feel once again for that. Just to reiterate here, we did have the online community survey, which was used early in the process to gather issues and opportunities, evaluation or assessment from the public. And then throughout, we conducted early in the public open houses with 3 meetings early in the process, including interactive activities, as Mandy pointed out, including the appendix, and then future direction that the public would like to see for the county over the course of the next 20 plus years. And then those focus group meetings midway through the process to come back around and say, you know, relative to land use, transportation, and parks and trails, what are some guiding light that they'd like to shed on the process as well. From a plan development standpoint or framework, there's 8 chapters broken down into an introduction, county context, goals and policies, land use, transportation, natural resources, parks and trails, and then finishing off with an implementation chapter. I'll provide an overview of each. The introduction chapter is pretty straightforward. It identifies the purpose of the comprehensive plan process, the project management team that was engaged throughout, and the public engagement activities provides an overview and summary of that material. It's just a broad overview of the comprehensive plan content too, with respect to each of those chapters being summarized, kind of serves as an executive summary of sorts. The county context chapter is Really the foundational element for the comprehensive plan gives you kind of an existing condition standpoint of who are we today and what do we have from a base condition standpoint relative to the region, demographics, housing, employment, and the physical environment. With respect to the demographics, we document things regarding gender and age cohorts throughout the county to get a feel for what's the county makeup as it stands today and how might that project out into the future. Historic population trends to understand where we've been and where we might be going. The county is currently at about 34,000 population, and then it's broken down with some of the other major larger urban centers within the county. Population projection standpoint, sitting around that 34,000 today, we're seeing or projecting, the state demographer projects about a 4.4 increase in the population throughout the county from here on out for the next 30 years, getting out to around that 35,000 value out into the future. So not significant growth per se, but yet growth nonetheless distributed throughout. Housing values and understanding our housing stock is also included within the existing conditions context chapter. As you can see here, it's quite the bell curve with respect to the county as a whole, and then those larger urban centers as well, being centered around that $150,000 to $200,000 range to $200,000 to $300,000 from a good housing stock standpoint across the county. Employment, understanding by industry what types of employment make up job opportunities here throughout the county, with manufacturing and education and health services being the two largest cohorts for job opportunities and employment within the county. And then also understanding from an age standpoint, or the age cohort or demographic over the years, how that projects with the 35 to 44-year-olds really making up the most substantive age cohort there, not only today, but also out into the future, which tends to make sense. And lastly, for the context chapter, just understanding the physical environment. This is just a representative graphic, but where do we stand with our water resource, soils, etc. Chapter 3, the goals and policies chapter, documents the comprehensive plan intent and identifies the goals and policies for the key plan elements that were mentioned. It lays out the idea of who or what Nicollet County wants to be in 2040, and those goal statements provide an outlook for a desired condition out into the future, and the policies provide the course or action that should be considered during the decision-making process by either staff within the county and yourselves as the county board managing the system. I'm going to read the comprehensive plan intent statement here. Nicollet County is a community built from its agricultural heritage, sense of place, and cooperative spirit that will be forward-thinking while planning for the future. The county will lead efforts to be sustainable, inviting, and proactive as it works with residents and stakeholders to guide development. Nicollet County will work to preserve infrastructure, the natural environment, and access to a high quality of life through thoughtful planning and innovative actions for the benefit of all residents, current and future. Pretty aspirational statement there, but one I think that sets the county up well for the future. And those goals and policies are outlined across 5 areas, not only the 4 key comprehensive plan elements, land use, transportation, parks and trails, and natural resources, but also just from a broader based long-range planning set of goals and policies as well. Chapter 4 now, getting into those 4 key elements of the comprehensive plan. Existing land use, that covers existing land use, the land use authority and official controls that the county has relative to the zoning and their zoning ordinances, and then land use planning with respect to jurisdictional growth planning, future land use, and key themes that are outlined with respect to the land use across the county. Key takeaways from the land use chapter are that agriculture will continue to be a principal land use activity within the county, and that pressure for development will continue to be strongest on its eastern fringe, right? We have quite a bit of our larger population centers on the eastern edge of the county and kind of southeast. Higher incomes, greater mobility, and more leisure time could increase the recreational demand within the county and people's ability to have access to Nicollet County. And rural Nicollet County will be influenced by larger urban centers outside of the county, that being Mankato, New Ulm, Owatonna, Faribault, Rochester, others from outside, either having jobs that people export to, or people coming into the county from those larger urban centers. Chapter 5 is regarding transportation. The county does not have a formal standalone transportation plan, but the comprehensive plan does summarize transportation within it. There's a number of things that were looked at and reviewed as part of this transportation system review: existing county-owned roadway conditions, potential system enhancements regarding roadway jurisdictional changes or opportunities for Nichola County to consider, transportation system management relative to access management or right-of-way preservation as projects are conceived or move forward, and then future considerations, being able to reference the Mankato, North Mankato Area Planning Organization's long-range transportation plan, as some of Nicollet County does sit within that Maple boundary, and then potential consideration for developing a Nicollet County standalone transportation plan, something that was just identified and talked about within the comprehensive plan. Key takeaways are that there's 40 potential instances where the county could transfer roadway ownership onto a city or a township. Those are those jurisdictional transfers based on an analysis of the county system. The county will work to preserve right-of-way and complete environmental documentation prior to acquisitions when necessary. The county will coordinate with the Mankato, North Mankato Area Planning Organization as an agency that can assist with managing the transportation system regionally, as was pointed out. And again, the county could benefit from a broader standalone countywide transportation plan. Excuse me. Chapter 6, Natural Resources. It documents the existing conditions relative to water and the county's land topography and soils, as well as opportunities for renewable energy with respect to solar resources or wind resources. Key takeaways from the natural resource chapter are that the county's wetland system is made up of the Minnesota River and several lakes, streams, and creeks, and wetlands within the Minnesota River Basin. The county will continue to monitor and partner with other jurisdictions as appropriate on issues regarding diminishing groundwater in order to protect that natural resource. The county will work with their aggregate businesses throughout to ensure these operations can continue in a sustainable manner to manage this resource as an opportunity within the county. And then large portions of the county actually were identified as suitable for solar or wind energy production based on certain conditions that exist within the county. Chapter 7, regarding the parks and trails, documents the existing conditions for county parks, trails, and recreation areas, wildlife management areas across the county, state park facilities, and then the city park, nature areas, and recreational facilities. Key takeaways from the parks and trails were the county will continue to run 2 county parks as well as its trails, and the wildlife management areas within the county will serve and continue to serve as an important hunting, fishing, wildlife watching, and tourism attraction for the county going forward. Chapter 8, pretty important chapter with respect to any piece of documentation, is kind of the not so what statement, but what now? How do we go about managing the plan, utilizing the plan, leveraging it for our future management of systems across the county? The implementation action steps were identified for each of the comprehensive plan elements that I had mentioned previously relative to long-range planning, those broader items, and then the 4 specific ones on land use, transportation, natural resources, and parks and trails. The implementation plan chapter is broken down with the plan element being identified on the far left and implementation action, a relative time frame, in broad swaths, and then the responsible parties, whether that's specific departments within the county or others external to the county for coordination. I have here in the presentation each of these listed out. I don't intend to read through each of them, but it is broken down into various sections as previously stated for each of those elements: land use, transportation, natural resource, and parks and trails. With that, while it's a pretty succinct and high-level overview, I do appreciate the time that you allow me to share just an overview of the comprehensive plan, and I'll close there by stating that my understanding is the next steps are an opportunity for the county board to consider plan adoption. Mandy, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Craig. Are there any questions for myself or Craig regarding the comp plan? I just want to reiterate, so the Planning and Zoning Advisory Commission did recommend unanimous approval with a couple of small changes with it, which I believe were incorporated into the plan. But otherwise, than the one comment, we did not receive any additional comments from the public. So what I'm asking today is for the adoption of the comprehensive plan.
Mandy and Mr. Chair, I would recommend at this point, we officially open the public hearing to take any comments that have been provided or anybody in attendance. And I'll ask Sarah and Dale, is anybody out in the boardroom who has showed up to comment?
Currently, no, there is not. And Craig, if I could ask, you could return host to Sarah.
I will stop sharing. I believe Sarah should be able to take it back.
Thank you.
So do you want to officially open the hearing?
Okay, we'll open the the closed hearing, not the closed hearing, but the board hearing.
So we're opening the public hearing here, and there is nobody in the county boardroom that has showed up in person to comment. I do not see anybody on the screen.
There were no letters, correct?
Mandy, do you have any written comments or anything?
No, I did not receive any written comments or email.
So we'll close the public hearing.
Okay, with that said, yes, I believe the chair can close the hearing here.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I'm
Yes,
sorry,
Jack.
Ryan.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, Ryan, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say we can go to discussion here.
Yes.
Well, prior to any motion, Mandy, are you satisfied with the feedback that has been received during this process? And does it set our county on the right course for this plan?
Yes, I would say I am pleasantly happy with or surprised at the feedback that we did get prior to the comprehensive plan update process. There was a lot of discussion and comments from the public concerning the activities that were allowed and felt that there needed to be expanded activities. Based on the comments we did receive, there was a significant amount of support to maintain agricultural property as agricultural property, and understanding that that really is the core of Nichola County, our farming community. And so with that information we received with the public and the surveys, I think there's just a disconnect with what people think can happen and what can actually happen. There are several opportunities for home occupations and businesses in our rural area. I think there's just, like I said, a disconnect or the purely under misunderstanding of what is allowed. We have permitted several home occupation outside in the rural area. We have a couple of them that are pending at this time. So I am happy and confident that the comp plan will address all of the comments that we received and to allow Nichola County to continue to grow, but also maintain the agricultural community that it was essentially established Nichola County, but allow our farmers to continue to farm without concern of housing developments impeding on their agricultural practices.
Anything else, Mandy?
No.
Thank you for that summary. I appreciate it.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I will move that we adopt the comprehensive plan as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Oh, Mandy, you did say that the Planning and Zoning Board was 100% behind this?
Yes, there was unanimous approval of the document.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, only to say, and
Go ahead, Jack.
I thank Marie and the Planning Commission, and certainly grateful to Mandy for the work. It is important to plan. And so with the work that Craig Vaughn gave us. I think it's important that this passes.
I will just add, we do have a transportation section in here, which is a little bit unique for a comprehensive plan. But Seth, did you have any comments regarding the transportation piece?
Sure he's on.
Oh, he's maybe not connected. So Craig did review that section. That is a little bit unique, but I think it lays out some good guidance for the county board and staff as we move forward.
Great, Ryan.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, I can, Seth.
I don't have any comments unless people have specific questions about the transportation section.
Okay, I
Well,
guess.
Mr. Chair, if I could.
Yes, Jack.
I'm sorry.
Yes, Jack, go ahead.
Seth, thank you for being part of this. How do you see a county-wide plan for transportation working?
A countywide transportation plan would just be a much more in-depth analysis of our existing road conditions, the road system layout, and we would probably get into a real detailed discussion about future improvements and enhancements to the system. I guess that's the best high-level statement I can give on that.
Okay, anybody else? Otherwise, we'll call the roll.
Drano,
Yes.
Kolars,
Yes.
Morrow,
Yes.
Lipke,
I'm gonna abstain.
and Kemp.
Yes.
Okay, passes, thank you. We're down to chair's reports then?
John, this
Yes.
is Terry. I apologize to everyone, but my mother's doctor has been trying to call me. So if there are no other votes, I'd like to leave the meeting at this point.
Yes, Terry, go right ahead.
Great, thank you. Thank you all.
Yep, thanks, Terry.
Bye.
Take care.
Good luck with everything.
So yeah, we're down to the chair's reports.
Okay. Well, I had the AMC general government. Was with the rest of you with workshop a week ago and extension meeting the same evening, and Terry was at that. Terry and I met with Ryan for the salary negotiation. And yesterday I was on the computer with the Rural Minnesota Energy Board. So how do we do this? Marie, you want to go first?
Sure. I had planning and zoning, of which the items were presented today. I was on the AMC conference call regarding environment and natural resources. We had our board workshop last week. I had a Region 9 revolving loan committee meeting, and I had a Region 9 board meeting. And then last week we had Tri-County solid waste meeting.
Hey, Jack, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Terry Morrow and I canvassed the vote with Jackie and the other canvassers on November 13th. We had our AMC Transportation Committee on the 16th. Minnesota Valley Action Council, our workshop, Greater Mankato Growth, EDS, and last week's or today's county board. And thank you and happy Thanksgiving. Stay safe.
Thank you, Jack. Denny?
Well, since our last workshop, I had the drug court stakeholders meeting, emergency communication joint powers board, South Central EMS joint powers board, and the education collaborative joint powers board, and today's meeting. So I think that covers all of my issues, and I would echo Jack's greetings for the holidays and wishing all those that see us and hear us to stay safe. We know changes are afoot, and we would hope that all of you would exercise the safety guidelines as outlined. It's important. It's a big deal, and we want to keep people as safe as we possibly can. So thank you for allowing that.
Well, thank you, Denny, and you said it so well, I'm not going to say it. Is there a motion for adjournment?
No, per diem.
Per diem, sorry.
Yep.
I'd move per diems and expenses.
Motion, second.
Thank you.
Yes, Jack, thank you. Any discussion? Call to roll.
Kemp,
Yes.
Kolars,
Yes.
Morrow, oh, sorry, Lipke,
Yes,
Drano.
Yes.
passes. Anything else, Ryan?
Nothing else, Mr. Chair.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any more discussion? Anything else? Okay, call the roll. Go ahead, Marie.
Meetings and conferences? We skipped that on the agenda?
There's no update, other than, well, I take that back, Marie. You should have all received an email from AMC regarding the annual conference this year, which is a virtual meeting in the afternoon of the 7th, I believe. So you just need to register for that, and it'll be just a one-day session or one afternoon session this year.
Thank you, Ryan. Call to roll.
Kemp,
Yes.
Drano,
Yes.
Lipke,
Yes.
and Kolars.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, John.
Happy holidays.